Hello. Today I will tell you a story about a crime of extreme brutality that will make your tears flow endlessly. In 2006, in Jian Village, Hualien District, Taiwan, a massacre occurred, resulting in the tragic deaths of 5 innocent children, while their parents went missing. The crime scene was horrifying, leaving all witnesses terrified. During the investigation, the authorities not only found 2 distress notes, but also discovered 3 cigarette butts that did not belong to the victim's family. All these signs indicated that it was a particularly gruesome and brutal serial killing. However, a sudden clue emerged, completely changing the course of the case and leaving everyone astonished. In September 2006, despite the summer having passed, the weather in Taiwan remained hot and humid. Under such weather conditions, garbage and similar items easily decomposed and emitted a foul, unpleasant odor. The residents of Alley 258, Jitruong Street, Hualien, had been smelling a particularly unpleasant odor for several days. Finally, they couldn't bear it any longer and decided to trace the source of the stench. To their shock, they discovered that it was coming from house number 25, the residence of the couple Liu Zhiqin and their 5 children. They tried knocking on the door of the Liu family but received no response. Realizing that something was amiss, they immediately reported it to the police. When the police arrived and smelled the stench, they recognized it as the smell of death. They decided to forcefully enter the house, following the foul odor up to the bathroom on the 3rd floor. However, the door was jammed, so they had to work together to break it open. When the door finally opened, the sight before them was heart-wrenching. In the small bathroom, which was less than 6 square meters, the bodies of the 5 children were curled up and stacked on top of each other. The bodies were wrapped in large black plastic bags and secured with steel wires. Their hands and feet were also tied with steel wires. The youngest child was wrapped in a blanket, and beneath the heavy blanket, the corpses had decomposed severely, with countless flies and maggots swarming around. Even the experienced police officers had never seen such a pitiful and gruesome scene. According to the preliminary investigation, the police confirmed that the victims were Liu Zhiqin's 5 children, including the eldest son, Liu Yuchen, the second son, Liu Jingchen, the eldest daughter, Liu Kaizhen, the second daughter, Liu Qingdi, and the youngest son, Liu Beichen. Among the 5 children, the eldest son was 18 years old and had just entered university. The youngest child was only 9 years old and was in the 4th grade. Since the children had been dead for a long time, when the forensic doctor removed the tape from their faces, their eyelids came off with it. Based on the preliminary assessment of the forensic doctor, the time of death was between September 4th and September 6th. The method used by the perpetrator was extremely brutal. To prevent the children from screaming, the culprit had used steel wires to stab straight from their chins into their mouths and tightly tied the knots, to the point that when the doctor removed the wires, the jawbones of the bodies almost came off. What was more shocking than anything else was that these actions were carried out while the victims were still conscious. A once peaceful town suddenly experienced such a terrifying murder, causing the residents to immediately fall into a state of panic and fear. To calm public opinion, the police quickly deployed a skilled investigative team to investigate the case. After examining the crime scene, the police discovered that the ventilation window and drain in the bathroom where the bodies were found had been sealed with adhesive tape. The police believed that this could be the deliberate preparation of the murderer to prevent the smell from the corpses from spreading outside. They speculated that the criminal had planned and executed this murder. So who was this ruthless killer? Why did they brutally kill 5 children in such a terrifying manner? What crime did these children commit? Could it be that the father had offended some powerful force and was being avenged in this way? Or was this a case of robbery and murder? While the police were entangled in these perplexing thoughts, a bigger question arose. Where are Mr. and Mrs. Liu Zhiqin currently located? The police are concerned that they may have been killed somewhere. Therefore, during the ongoing crime scene investigation, the police have deployed a large force to gather information about the couple's whereabouts. During the investigation, the police found no signs of disturbance at the crime scene, and even the cash in the room was not taken. This indicates that the perpetrator did not resort to violence for monetary reasons. Additionally, the police discovered that the front door and windows of the house were not damaged, and even the screen door was securely closed from the inside with no signs of forced entry. This also provides evidence that no one from the outside invaded the house. So how did the criminal enter the house? At this point, the police found 2 distress notes in the living room on the ground floor. One note stated, 258 Alley, 25, tied up and under control. Critical situation. Please call the police immediately. Found under the cigarette case in the living room. The other note was wedged under the door crack stating, "Number 25, children under control, critical situation. Please call the police, SOS." Based on handwriting comparison, the police discovered that both notes were written by the homeowner, Liu Ji-chin. According to theory, after writing these messages, the father should have quickly sent them out to have a chance of survival. So why didn't he send out these distress messages? Did he not want to seek help, or was he forced not to seek help? Before the police could explain this strange phenomenon, they made another discovery. The police found 3 cigarette butts in the bathroom. Based on the tests, the police determined that the DNA on these cigarette butts belonged to the same person, but not Liu Ji-chin, meaning there was someone else at the crime scene. So who is this person? Could it be that Mr. and Mrs. Liu Ji-chin were kidnapped? The police immediately began searching for the owner of the cigarette butts and quickly identified a suspect, Xiao Mo. Xiao Mo is a friend of Liu Ji-chin, but after being brought to the police station, he claimed not to be involved. According to Xiao Mo's statement, he did visit Liu Ji-chin's house on September 1st, but he did not return after that day. However, due to lack of evidence, the police did not believe his statement. Therefore, the police investigated Xiao Mo's movements, and the result was that Xiao Mo had sufficient evidence of unrelated activities. Xiao Mo said something that caught the attention of the police. He mentioned that he smoked in the first-floor living room, but the discovered cigarette butts were found in the third-floor bathroom. Could it be that the criminal deliberately created false leads to obstruct the police investigation? To verify this assumption, the police conducted surveys among residents in the vicinity. During the investigation, a neighbor informed the police that Mr. and Mrs. Liu Ji-chin used to send their children outside to dispose of trash. But from September 5th onwards, it was Mrs. Lam Zhen-min who took on that responsibility. At that time, the neighbor did not think much of it, but upon reflection, the neighbor felt extremely frightened. Did the 5 children suffer harm during that period? According to the memory of Liu Jingchen's teacher, on September 5th, Liu Jingchen was absent from school. The teacher called Liu Jingchen's mother, Mrs. Lam Zhen-min, and received the answer that Liu Jingchen was sick and needed some rest. This is very strange. If the child had encountered an accident during that time, wouldn't the mother seek help from outside? Why did she calmly request a leave of absence like that? What makes the police even more baffled is why the criminal could kill 5 children and abduct their parents without any resistance or hindrance from the parents. Normally, when parents see their children in danger, they would surely resist and intervene against the perpetrator. However, there was no evidence indicating that the Liu couple had resisted. Furthermore, the local residents didn't hear any loud noises. So how did the perpetrator carry out the act? The police speculate that this individual may have used drugs to render the victims unconscious. Following this line of investigation, the police continue their inquiry. The police conducted tests and examinations to determine if the bodies contained any sedatives or poisons, but they found no traces of such substances. Thus, the victims died in an extremely painful manner. Then, an avid angler among the police officers suddenly noticed a medicinal herb in the victim's house, known for its sedative properties. Fishermen often use it for fishing, and consuming excessive amounts can cause asphyxiation. The toxic components of this herb are primarily concentrated in its roots. Surprisingly, the police discovered the herb they found in the Liu's house had been uprooted. Therefore, the police believe that the culprit may have used this herb to incapacitate the victims before committing the crime. These toxins, once inside the body, would naturally break down into harmless substances through the blood circulation cycle. This also explains why the test did not detect any toxins in the bodies. With this information, the police believe that if they can trace the origin of that herb, they can apprehend the perpetrator. However, what surprised the police was that after the investigation, they discovered that Liu Ji-chin had actually purchased the herb himself, claiming that his son wanted to write an essay on a paralyzing drug and required this particular herb for experimentation. A reliable acquaintance had helped Mr. Liu acquire the herb. It seemed that the investigation had taken a wrong turn, so the police could only continue searching for clues at the crime scene. They quickly found fingerprints on the adhesive tape used to secure the children's heads. The result left everyone astonished because these fingerprints truly belonged to Liu Ji-chin, the father of the 5 children. Meanwhile, a source reported that Liu Ji-chin's car had been spotted at the train station. The police swiftly arrived at the scene, and through the investigation of nearby surveillance cameras, they discovered that Liu Ji-chin and his wife had driven the car themselves, without any apparent control by any criminals, ruling out the possibility of them being kidnapped. Furthermore, they had gone to buy coffee and meat pastries without showing any signs of coercion. Moreover, During the investigation of surveillance footage from a nearby supermarket, the police found that Liu Zhichin had purchased a set of tools for restraining children, including duct tape and steel wire. Could it be that the Liu couple were the ones responsible for the killing of their own children? The police found this result unbelievable, as they couldn't fathom any parents being so cruel as to harm their own children. At this point, the police were only speculating, but the appearance of another set of photographs confirmed the guilt of both spouses. When the police searched Liu Zhichin's office, they discovered a digital camera. Upon opening it, they found that the SD card inside was missing, and the stored photos in the camera had been deleted. The police used recovery technology to restore the photos in the camera. It is astonishing how this camera recorded the entire process of Liu Zhichin single-handedly killing all 5 of their children, including a photo of Liu Zhichin wearing shorts, directly tying up their eldest daughter and using a wire to pierce her mouth. Although the police did not see Liu Zhichin's wife in these photos, based on the angle of the shots and the strange behavior of the wife prior to the incident, the police implicitly determined that she was the one taking the photos. Everyone was horrified upon learning this shocking secret. No one can comprehend the thoughts of Liu Zhichin and his wife when they decided to be so cruel to their own children. According to the investigation at the time, Liu Zhichin, who was 48 years old, owned a photography company called Magical Family, which also had branches in Taiwan. Initially, the life of the Liu family was comfortable and well off, but in recent years, due to poor business performance, the company started to decline. To avoid bankruptcy, Liu Zhichin and his wife had to borrow hundreds of millions of dollars from relatives and high-interest loan organizations to sustain the company's operations. However, the company continued to deteriorate, and the debts piled up. A source revealed that the Liu couple owned a total of 17 credit cards. Since June, their debt payments began to show abnormal signs, and in August, there were no records of any payments. Their total debt amounted to 16 million Taiwanese dollars. Was the death of their 5 children related to the debt burden that Liu Zhichin and his wife had to bear? To answer this question, the police now have to locate the Liu couple. Only then can the case have a chance to be clarified. The police issued a wanted order for Liu Zhichin and Lam Zhenmin. However, despite using all search methods over the past 9 years, the police still couldn't find any trace of them. Until everyone thought that this century's case would never be solved, a new piece of information emerged on June 10, 2015. Someone discovered 2 corpses in the forest, and after examination it was determined that the victims were a male and a female who had died over 5 years ago. In addition, the police also found several sets of clothes, food boxes, and insecticides at the crime scene. These pieces of evidence had been distorted over time, but a pair of gold-framed glasses caught the attention of the police. They discovered that it closely resembled the glasses of Liu Zhichin, who had disappeared many years ago. Therefore, the police immediately conducted DNA tests on the 2 bodies and confirmed that they were Liu Zhichin and Lam Zhenmin, the missing couple. Due to the long time since their deaths, forensic doctors could not determine the exact cause of their deaths. However, based on the opened insecticide bottles found at the scene, it was likely that the 2 had committed suicide by poisoning themselves. As Liu Zhichin and his wife had taken their own lives after committing the crime, the prosecutor decided not to prosecute them any further. That was how the family annihilation case ended, and the apartment where the Liu family once lived was sold at a low price 2 years later. However, after the case was closed, many people doubted whether someone had coerced Liu Zhichin and his wife to commit such heinous acts. Do you still remember the details of the plea letter that Liu Zhichin wrote? If the couple truly intended to kill their 5 children and then commit suicide, it was completely unnecessary for them to stage such a theatrical act. Therefore, the online community believes that the real perpetrator is still at large, and that Liu Zhichin and his wife were controlled and manipulated by some organization, forcing them to commit such immoral acts. No loving parents would have the heart to kill their own 5 children, whom they brought into the world with pain and suffering. However, since Liu Zhichin and Lam Zhenmin are no longer alive, and the unfortunate children have also passed away, the speculations of the online community may forever remain a question mark. What do you think the truth of this case is? Please leave your comments below the video. Thank you for listening, goodbye, and see you in the next videos.